last. Something's happening all over the world. My life has been a series of endless changes, a constant struggle to be free. One thing I know for sure now, it's me for you and it's you for me. Something's happening, something's going on. Something's happening, something so strong. Something's happening, something all over the world. My life has been a series of endless changes, a constant struggle to be free. One thing I know for sure, me, it's me for you and it's you for me. Something's happening, something's going on. Something's happening, something so strong. Something's happening, something all over, all over, all over all over the world. Y'all sing with me now. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too.
God loves you and I love you too.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice and repeat.
We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
We come together.
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 We come together in
the name of love. Now look at the person next to you.
Look at the person next to you.
Say namaste, I bow to you.
Namaste, I bow to you.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice, lift your voice.
We come together.
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 We come together in
the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together
in
the name of love. From every walk of life,
every walk of life,
every creed and color, in kinship we unite. lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice.
All right, let's go.
We come together.
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 We come together in
the name of love. We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
We come together.
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 We come together in
the name of
love. All right, very nice. Teresa James, everybody, let's give her some love. The birthday girl just arrived. Yeah. And welcome to all of you joining us online. That was a great job singing. Your Alexa, pipes right into the service here, so we heard you all singing. Could be true. All right, so let's welcome our presider this morning, the wonderful Reverend Nancy Woods. Yes. And all of you as well, joining us both here in the sanctuary, which, by the way, we have excellent air conditioning here, so if you're at home sweating your keister off, you should come in on Sunday. It's nice and chilly in here, like a meat locker. All right, so let's take a deep, conscious breath and release. And you don't have to pay for the electric bill. How's that? As we come together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights this first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, a way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, for the space that we save for them here at our center, within our online community, and of course within our own hearts. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines radiance through our love. We light this flame with faith.
We light this flame with faith.
We find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
As we open our minds and our hearts to appreciate this one presence within, and acknowledging that we know and understand and appreciate that this divine presence, that is the essence of all that there is, it's what is guiding and directing the energy and the awareness that is in this center this morning. And as we open ourselves up to receive that which has been given, we know that our minds and our hearts are willing to accept a greater expression of truth. As we know that the infiniteness of life itself and the ability to step into it is our choice, as we choose to know and understand and appreciate this opportunity, as we are stepping into a greater and expanded awareness of the truth of our being. And as we allow this to develop and express itself, the greatness of life, once again, says yes to all that there is. So it's with the love and appreciation for this idea and this understanding and this awareness of the divine that we join together in a united awareness and understanding and acceptance as we say, and so it is. Good morning. It's been a while, so so much of spirituality has been evolving and developing around me and with me, and watching and observing a lot of the wonders of how spirit is expressing itself, mostly in nature. It's just amazing, the message that you get from the trees and the bushes and the plants, and from each other. And one of the things, I remember Mike a couple of weeks ago made a statement during his service, and I found that when you open your mind, it comes through when you need to hear it. And he said, if you have the belief, but you don't have faith, what do you have? It really made me start thinking, okay, I really believe this. I believe this philosophy and this understanding that we have said that spirit is all that there is, and that divine presence really is the essence of my being. And knowing that this presence is infinite in its potentiality and its intelligence and all that it is, and it's constantly creating newness. I had to take a look at myself and decide whether I was living from that place of awareness and how much was I living from it. Because that is where the faith comes in. Yeah, you know, that faith with the mustard seed that's going to move mountains, and you start thinking about a mustard seed moving the mountain, you say, woo. That faith and how powerful it is and how much we can get tied up. I have been getting tied up in the realm of the mind and the thinking, and it's not as much with the heart and the feeling. And I felt like that was where the gap was as far as increasing in the faith is concerned. So I've been looking at how well, how to merge this more, where my heart is part of this mental process that is going on, and this understanding that I'm gaining from this philosophy and life itself. So it's really interesting, because once again my mind wanted to make sense out of it. You know, it wanted to just make sense of how to do this and how to hook it together. But what I realized more than anything is I had Spirit gave me an opportunity to experience that unity in a conversation with other people. And it was fascinating when I finally got I was able to grasp that was what was happening. Because sometimes you get these practitioner calls. And so I got maybe about 3 or 4, and it was like, I knew exactly what I was supposed to say, and I said it, and all of a sudden I felt the difference. Not in them, it wasn't even about them. It was what I felt in me. And I felt a joy. And it's not one of these woo-woo joys, but one of these joys that said, this is cool, this is all right. Life is beautiful to be experiencing. It was that kind of joy. That joy that says, oh, I love being alive right now. And I realized that it is about the heart doing it. And more than anything, I think I'm getting that I just need to seek it. I need to look for it. And that's what we do here. We get together and we talk about these truths, but we had these truths, we're trying to reach and grab how it is to live this truth. Not just know it, not just to think it, but live it, be it, experience it, express it. And that, and I don't even know what I said to them, but they got the message. I mean, the message they got, the message they fed back to me came out of them, so I didn't really have to say the words. It was my connection at that moment. And we all have had those moments when we totally connected and we smiling because of what we are experiencing with this person. And everybody has had those moments. But I felt so good to be able to recognize it. Oh, this is about spiritual expression of life. This is about living it. And that's why we all gather here today. And I have to thank Reverend Mike for that tap on the shoulder. And we get them from so many different people. You know that? Sometimes it's just a music. And sometimes it's just the radio. Somebody says something. Sometimes it's reading a book. But there's so many ways where we get this little tap on the shoulder. But we have to open ourselves to receive it. That's where I feel like the difference. So we can consciously do that. And thank you for letting me share that, because when I share with you, I share with myself. And I allow myself to experience spirit, because that's what I see in front of me. There's many expressions of spirit and the many variations of it. Infinite possibilities, guys. Just so much to live for. And thank you for letting me share that.
Brother, I need to talk to you. And this might sound strange. You probably think I'm crazy and I lost my mind. Well, okay. it's becoming clear. I can feel it down in my soul. I know that I am you and you are me. Uh-oh. And I'm grateful for the simple things that we take for granted every day. I can walk and I can talk, I can use my mind, okay. And I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I'm a miracle, a dream come true. Yeah, I'm marvelous, I'm beautiful, but guess what? So are you. Now that don't mean that we're better than anyone or anything. It's just a call to come together and accept responsibility. Oh, and be amazing. Just be incredible. 'Cause we're a miracle, a dream come true. Yeah, I'm marvelous and I'm beautiful. But guess what? So are you. So are you. Yeah, we're amazing.
Wow. I love that.
You're amazing.
Yeah. It's just amazing. So I think we sometimes unite, connect in such a nice way. It's beautiful. Thank you, Shirley. Just beautiful. You get these songs. They seem so perfect. Wow. So I'm supposed to do these announcements. So the first thing it says is if you want prayer support, find your practitioner. And the practitioners can be found online. You might find them at church. And as Wayne said, if you come next Sunday, you're probably going to see a bunch of them because we're having practitioner meeting next Sunday. So we'll find a whole group of them around. And today, at 11:45, after the service, we're going to have a Zoom fellowship. So people, and that's going to be facilitated by Lisa Marino. And it's just have a chance to chat with another spiritual person. It's rich to do that. And at 1 o'clock, we're going to have the law of attraction, which is another opportunity to have a spiritual chat with other people. And that's online at 1 o'clock. And bereavement support at 1 o'clock online for those who are looking for someone to just have experienced a loss and you want some support. If you know somebody that needs that support, you can direct them to this experience. Sharing life with each other is a spiritual experience itself, no matter what the topic is. And coming up for the church, Reverend Nicole is going to start a Mommy's Spiritual Spa, and that's going to be an in-person group that's going to meet. And it starts June the 29th at 9:30 a.m. It's going to be on Wednesday morning, where they're asking the mothers to come out and have the spiritual experience of chatting with each other about being a mother. And what it is, to share that adventure. Well, I'll tell you about the practitioner meeting That's next Sunday. And I think we also have Breakfast with the Reb next Sunday. Is that coming up? Yeah, that's going to. So next week, bring a friend and let them enjoy being in our company. If you know somebody else that want to experience this love, it's a lot of love here, you know. Open your heart and just feel it. And I can't read this writing, so I don't know what you wrote at the bottom. How does it feel? All right, I got that message. But never mind, okay. So would y'all stand and say the Declaration of Principles with me? We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal too, and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life, the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
Y'all sing with me now. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Please be seated. You two at home. All right, so if this is your first time here at the center online, you're most welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if it's your first time here in the center, welcome, Art. It's nice to have you with us this morning and have the rest of you here as well. So it's nice to be edging back. Actually, what Wayne said was, if you need a practitioner, next week we're having a practitioner meeting and all the practitioners will be here. It's kind of like Easter, which I thought was hilarious, but maybe you didn't. Okay. So Resurrect, Rebuild, Renew in 2022. This is our theme for the year and for the month of June. This is our last Sunday in June this year. I create my life in radiant ecstasy, which is right in line with our theme for June, which is creativity. And so I'm going to sort of talk about radiant ecstasy. But you'll kind of have to fill in the blanks there a little bit, I suppose. Our contributors for June are Phil Pomeray, Andrea Recht, who's also our board president, and Reverend Nicole Robbins. So we've been working through the year, so we're halfway through the year now, through the Science of Mind 365, which are the writings of Ernest Holmes over a 40-year writing career of Science of Mind magazine and other sources. And so, like as I said, we've been exploring this theme of creativity with a little short segue last week, I suppose, about how any activity that we engage with in life can use a little infusion of spirit and in this way then can be adapted for spiritual practice, even paying child support. And so we kind of spoke to that, and as it would happen, I had someone who called me during the week looking for some support around a dad around child visitation. So isn't that funny how these things, working in one area and then it pops up in another. Today we're going to be talking about the ecstasy of creative expression. So for many of us, those of us who connect with the natural expression of life and get inspiration from that, Yosemite is kind of it must have been a sacred place to the indigenous peoples who were here. I mean, how could it not be, right? You're riding your horse one day and then you come onto this beautiful valley, and then I think there was another one Muir talked about, I think it was Hetch Hetchy, that I think they ended up damming up and flooding. And so he fought hard to make sure that didn't happen here, and I'm sure glad he did. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the ecstasy of creative expression, how when we touch the creative process, we are dancing with the power back of all things, back behind all of expression. We are dancing with the divine itself. And I have to say, particularly when it comes to places like this, that I have been thinking in such ways for most of my life, though I don't know that I would have had the language. I would not have seen it that way. My father once shared a story about how he knew I was cut from a different cloth, which he didn't really like that so much because he was a very observant Catholic and a chief master sergeant in the Air Force. And he had a certain idea of what I was going to do, but I was more interested in growing my hair long. I'm glad I did, now that I don't have any. But so growing my hair long, playing rock and roll music, chasing girls, and smoking jazz cigarettes. That was kind of what I was about back in the day. But he shared a story about when he knew I was cut from a different cloth, and that was in following me out into the woods behind this big open field that we had behind the base housing in Ohio, because we lived in Ohio for a while. And it was, I don't know, several acres. When you're a kid, everything looks huge, so I have no idea how big it was, but it was big. And then there was a creek that ran through it. And as a kid, I couldn't wait to race out of the house and go hang out by the creek, no matter what the weather. And I guess Dad was spying on me on this particular day, and I think he was probably expecting me, to be getting into mischief or, smoking cigarettes and starting fires or something, which I was doing, but not on this day. Instead, he was curious. He came upon, I wasn't smoking cigarettes at 10. I was probably older than that. But I was fascinated and curious with the natural surroundings. And I remember being fascinated with the husk of a milkweed plant. And we don't really have those here in California unless we propagate them. But they split open, and then the seeds are on these like wings of fairies, right? And then when they explode, they're like all over the place. And of course, this is what monarch butterflies feed on. So I tried growing some this year, but to no avail. I had to start earlier. But my point is that I was fascinated with things natural. And for my dad following me on this day, it triggered a memories of Ireland, and watching his older brother Tom when they were out on the bog, reveling on being outdoors, even while doing the hard work of cutting turf. And so, like my Uncle Thomas, I had this connection to the land that has stayed with me, really, until this day. Now, my dad didn't share this with me until I was well into my 50s. And only now do I understand that perhaps he understood me and my spiritual calling much better than either one of us really knew at the time. And in listening to me the one Sunday that he was here, because they lived out in Ohio, he was in town, listening to me one Sunday, he just came up to me excitedly and said, you know, that's right out of Aquinas. There was nothing that you said that I would disagree with. And along with this surprise, I expect there was some sense of relief as well, right? Now, I've learned later through Matthew Fox that Thomas Aquinas was one of the early proponents of what would become known in modern theology as creation spirituality. That God, in creating the world, proclaimed it is good and very good. That Paul, centuries later, would write, in God we live, move, and have our being. So this is an understanding, of recognizing that as the divine is in all things, right, that we start to see it, right? That we actually have an expectation of it. That it's, and as Reverend Nancy was saying, that it is difficult to do if all we do is stay in the head, right? That there is a quickening that happens when you're in the moment, of a quickening that happens that some would call a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening. There's an understanding of seeing, and then we begin to see demonstrations of the divine in all things. So that in this way, then, the notion of God moves away from being a deity separate from man, instead to a panentheistic way, a presence expressing itself through all of nature, and as we are natural creatures, through us as well. And so this being so, then man must be inherently good, for God is within. And that this idea of sin, which in the traditional sense is seen as an offense against God, but when seen as more of an error, which is also true, that sin is simply the vehicle through which man discovers this goodness within himself. Now, this can get a little sketchy when you start considering the nature of evil and so forth. And we'll revisit that another day. But let's just staying with this idea that if God is good and only good, then there is that aspect of the Spirit within us that is good and only good. And that there is no sin but a mistake. And that sin, error in thought, our character defects, if you will, become vehicles really for us to discover the infinite power and presence of the divine at work in this human experience. That the possibility lies where we discover that the divine being everywhere present then is within each one of us, awaiting our recognition of it. Can you advance a slide, please? All right. So Ernest Holmes once wrote in Ideas for Living that the highest perception of mankind has been his sense of this inner oneness with the Spirit. And the more completely we become conscious of this divine union, the more power we have over our own existence. Now, this is important in this way, because when it's not simply enough to recognize that the infinitude of the divine is everywhere present, including within ourselves, that there is no spot where God is not. But to know also that what is needed is the practice of awareness to see how this is true. And not only how it's true in the outer world, but how it is true within ourselves. Now, we're not often used to thinking of the Spirit in this way, and rightly are wary of it, because the ego can think of all kinds of ways to misuse power, to misuse the many gifts of life, to move out of creating a life that works for all to a life that works just for me. Right? A life that may have licentious living in it, for instance. But you know, even in that, it's all legit, because eventually you find your way back to the Spirit. So in time, we come to see that not only is there this indwelling presence of the divine, but this indwelling presence is something that, unfortunately, we are often playing hide and seek with. Kind of this now you see me, now you don't kind of experience. A kind of game that is both frustrating and exhilarating at the same time. So frustrating in that we feel like we are losing, which means we're not getting what we want. Or winning, we do get what we want. The irony, of course, is that there is winning in the not wanting. There's winning in the not wanting. I don't know about you, but that took a while to get to. The truth is that if we are alive, we are winning. So the thing that, you know, I always thought this was kind of BS. I think it was mostly in the 80s, but certainly in the 90s, he who dies with the most toys wins, right? But the problem with that thinking is that there's always another toy, right? So you get the toy, whatever it is, right? And a month later, 2 months, 6 months, a year later, you're right back where you started at, right? And you can use this teaching, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have stuff and things. You can certainly use this teaching to accumulate more stuff. But as a spiritual practice, it has to be something more. It can't just be about stuff, right? It's a stuff in that we are proving a principle that there is this infinite presence at work in the cosmos, within this human life. The way that it makes itself known as what we call mind, this energetic, for lack of a better word, because it has a thinking component to it. That our mind, as an individualized expression of this divine expression, the individualized expression of that which is universal, thinks into this field of mind that then resonates, attunes itself, and those thoughts which are deeply subjectified, not just the conscious thing, right? But a thought that is anchored so deeply that is now part of our subjective or subconscious mind, that cannot help demonstrate in this outer world of form. So this idea of just wanting for stuff and things and having this, there is an egoic component to this practice of the science of mind, and we can see how it could be troublesome to try and discern some kind of code of conduct by which humans can live together peacefully, right? How to turn this drive of self-interest into enlightened self-interest. Now, how to shift that thinking of mine to divine, of individualized to the universal. So even within our own teaching, it's important. It's important that we learn the difference between consumerism science of mind to stability, sustainability science of mind. That we move from being gimme jimmies to just gimme, 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 to rather to knowing that enough is as good as a feast, as my Irish grandmother would say. To move from spiritual hoarders, it's all about me, to spiritual herders, right? To gathering those who want to live in harmony, from spiritual hoarders to spiritual herders. So in this way, then we can move from being sheep to shepherds, and then maybe even bodhisattvas, right? Small b, bodhisattva, right? But each one of us has the opportunity to be a wisdom shower, right? To be the avenue, the vehicle by which the love of the divine makes itself known in the world. I mean, there is no higher gift that we can give to someone, a complete stranger, than to love them without an expectation of anything in return, even an acknowledgement of that they're being loved. Right? We're just called to do that. It's a wonderful practice. In other words, we use the demonstration of good to prove the power of mind to ourselves, which then inspires us to cultivate and facilitate. To cultivate and facilitate a mental atmosphere that raises others as well, both metaphysically, which is in a more passive way, metaphysically knowing that a greater expression of life is available to ourselves and to others, but also materially by creating spiritual community where we can create a safe place to explore what the presence of God looks like for each one of us. And I'm using this word God as a placeholder word, right? A placeholder word to that that essence of life that is both transcendent and immanent. So we create spiritual community together to explore what the presence of God looks like for each one of us, to have an experience of the divine spurred by the music, maybe even the message, you never know, but ultimately through each other, whether it's here or even online, right? So first we are seen, then acknowledged, then respected, then celebrated, and in a healthy community, we do it all at the same time for each other. And that's what I have found over the years about this place, Granada Hills. It's very healthy, spiritually healthy community, psychologically healthy community. Right? This is an experience of the divine that we co-create together through the various modalities of the Spirit in expression here. So here in Granada Hills, we've pitched our tent here in the middle of Chatsworth Street materially. Our physical place may be small, but it is ours, right? Well, ours in the banks, but like 3/4 ours, right? And not the landlord's. And there is a mighty consciousness that backs it all, a consciousness of love and faith, and a faith that has a heaping dose of generosity woven through it as well, which is a wonderful thing to witness, by the way, as a spiritual leader, right? To see the generosity that you express to each other, and I'm not talking about coin, right? To see the kindness expressed, the support expressed. Now, when we come to see that the Spirit is in, through, and as all, we are right there in this little zone that my dad was so excited about all those years ago, right? We're right in that 12th, 13th century zone of Christian mystics, like Hildegard of Bingen first, right? Who was just made a doctor of the church finally, right? Just like Benedict is one of the good things Benedict did. Maybe the only thing he did, right? But finally, there a recognition of the divine feminine through Hildegard, who was having these ecstatic visions of creativity and the allness of the Spirit, quickening her soul, and sharing this and starting spiritual communities in Germany. But she also came up through a Celtic. So the Celtic tradition was also weaving up the Rhine Valley, and this is where she started out. And then that Celtic tradition is that the tradition of creative spirituality, if you will. So Matthew Fox, I've been reading this book, Essential Writings on Creation Spirituality. He writes this, that Thomas Aquinas says that spirituality, that experience is the basis of spirituality, but to teach spirituality, we also need concepts to assist us to name these experiences that we're having as individuals so that we can come together in community and express them. So we have this thing that we call the creative process, right? That our mind is an individualized expression of divine mind that we think into this universal mind that we can demonstrate its infinite power and presence, again, individualized in this earth realm, this realm of conditions. And this we call the creative process. That's our take on things. To the basic understanding and living creation spirituality, there are 4 paths. And this is Matthew Fox talking. As well as the experience of knowing that we have original blessing rather than original sin, that there is this aspect of the cosmic Christ, this Christ that is everywhere present, Christ as a principle, that there's a mystic understanding that there's something beyond ordinary reality that is seeking a reunion with the divine, that we were seeing that the Spirit is everywhere present within us. And then also there's a trust built into this, a trust that we can lean into with the Spirit. And that he calls these things the 4 paths of creation spirituality. And I'm just going to hit this real quick because, let's see. Yeah, so in these 4 paths, right, the first path is one of awe and delight. The second path is that of silence, darkness, suffering, and that letting go matters. So awe and delight matters. Letting go matters. And path 3, that creativity and imagination matter. And that path 4, a path of justice and celebration, which together then add up to compassion, that this matters. And that when the 4 paths are understood in light of a new cosmic story, then the whole civilization can be born, because while the 4 paths tell us what matters, this new creation story of the cosmic spirituality tells us why it matters. Because it's taken 13.8 billion years to bring all these experiences of delight and suffering, of birth and justice making to just this point in history. That these 4 paths also address the question, where to find God? Where to find the experience of the divine in our time? And creation spirituality in response says that the divine is to be found in all of these places. The via positiva, the awe and delight, the negativa, the path of suffering, the creativity, via creativa, right, through creativity, and via transformativa, right, that there's a transformation that takes place, and that all of these are part of this human experience. That we exist because God exists, because there is an irresistible urge. You can come on up. because there is an irresistible urge in the being of God to express himself. And that we are one of the results of this urge. Right? So I don't know that we actually think of ourselves that the Spirit was so delighted within itself that it created you in its image and likeness, that it may have an experience of life by means of your life, by means of my life, and everyone else's too. Right? And we can see how that can get really complex and crazy, right? Because when I say everyone else too, that includes Putin, right? You fill in then via negativa for yourself. It's crazy, right? But if we look at it in cosmic terms, or know that there is a way of seeing in cosmic terms, right? We can kind of find a way to make it all fit and make sense. So let's take a breath. I don't know how that ended up taking so long to say, but there you go. So let's just think about what we're going to do for the rest of this day. Let's just work on finding ways. So part of the via positiva, Matthew Fox talks about the practice. Find 3 people to love today. 3 people, unconditionally. No expectation of return. To allow ourselves to be open-hearted today. To be a vehicle through which love, the experience of the love as the divine expresses through you and through me. Let's take that through this day. See what's different, and maybe take that into our work week and try it there. And then come back and report back and see how we did.
First you plant it, then you hand it over, and then you can trust that it is done, like you trust in your best friend. In the magic of your imagination that has grown in the garden of love that you have sown. So throw a seed upon the wind, a prayer upon the breeze. Dreamers' dreams come true, and angels get their wings. And lovers find that love was right there all along. And when the intention's coming from the heart, and you believe in every part, it's from one idea, big things start. And then there's another seed upon the wind. Do you feel it? You've got to be it to make it so. Make a tight fist, then release it, and then just watch it grow. It's reassuring when you're affirming, so rest assured that it's flying as high as your word. that love is right there all along. When the intention's coming from the heart, and you believe in every part, it's from one idea, big things start, and then there's another seed upon the wind, another seed upon the wind.
Good one, huh? Yeah, beautiful. So as we, Deborah's going to bring up our offering basket. If you've come prepared for an offering this morning, then we'll do that here. For those of you joining us online, we're going to give you an opportunity to support our community now through the various ways, either through the website. If you're watching there, there's donate buttons. If you're on YouTube, there you can get to our PayPal page. If you're on Facebook, you can get us through there. Of course, we thank you all for your mail-in donations. And so we're going to go into our offering chant, and then Reverend Nancy will pray us out when we're done. So.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit gives through you, Spirit receives through you, Spirit lives and breathes through you. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through you. The Spirit gives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us.
So take a breath with me. And for those of you who mail in your donations, just know that they make their way into the basket. So we have some of those here today. And by all the various ways by which your generosity makes itself known here at our center, we know this basket represents these gifts, that consciousness of the individual, that generous individual who knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. That it also represents the heart of this spiritual community as we accept these gifts with deep love and respect, knowing they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only the members of this community, but anyone connected to this center in any way, that we extend a blessing of gratitude and prosperity upon our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that our planet as well, that all of it in some kind of crazy cosmic creative way is an expression of the mind of the divine itself, making itself known in this world. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in ways great and small. This lifts our hearts. We feel a sense of power that propels us into ways of spiritual living that raise our lives and the lives of those around us, and that's a good thing. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So let's give some love one more time to Teresa James. And let's welcome Reverend Nancy back up for a short closing treatment. Yeah. And thank you all for joining us online. Thank you all for being in here. It's nice to have you all here today. And God bless air conditioning.
Oh, and it's with the consciousness of gratitude we appreciate that we have been blessed with an expanded awareness this morning. Through the songs that were sung, the message that was delivered, and the ingredient that we were given, know that the blessings keep unfolding as we open our conscience to receive. And for this and this awareness and understanding, we say thank you. And together we acknowledge it by saying, and so it is.
Right. Y'all want to join me on the peace song? You want to stand up? Make a circle. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.